How's it going, guys? And welcome to this best of 3 showdown between myself and Zardar Total War. So this best of 3 actually took place in a tournament hosted by Shadow Online Gaming, which is still going on, but this was one of the preliminary rounds. So in the first match, we're going to have myself playing as the Warriors of Chaos, led by Kolek Suneater. We're going to be facing off against Manfred von Karstein. So let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So in the front line, I do have a couple of groups of Chosen, which are obviously very powerful in this matchup, just impeccable stats. 36 melee attack, which looks low in comparison to their melee defense, but still really good. 54 melee defense, and also 46 weapon strength with AP and bonus versus large. So Chosen are basically like a Swiss Army knife in this matchup. The counter being Fedabuna with Manfred, so if he does have Lore of Death, it's going to be a little bit scary, but obviously these guys can handle Cryptors, Graveguard, just a very, very solid unit. And definitely like them quite a bit. So 2 Chosen here. On the far side, I did run out of money, so I had to go to the discount aisle and get some of these Chaos Warriors with Halberds, but they still should do a pretty good job. On top of that, I wanted to try a few new units here. So I have the Chaos Spawn, which I think have found a bit of a niche in this matchup. They're very good against chaff units. They can even cut through Graveguard, and I just like them quite a bit. We have a Giant as well, who's going to be protected by his 2 Shaggoth buddies. So we have Kolek Suneater, and we also have a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. So Giants and, large units in general have always been very good against the Vampire counts. And Vampire counts basically have 2 options. They can either go with using, Blood Knights for their anti-large, which can be pretty good if they can catch you in open field. But since Shaggoths have got buffs to 100 armor and then 70 for this, group of, or not group, but this other Dragon Ogre Shaggoth who's at 70, plus the, kind of prevalence and popularity of Chosen and Halberds and things like that, I feel like Blood Knights are not the way to go. But again, we'll see how they do in this game. So that's pretty much it for my army. I do have a Deathcaster as well on foot. And for my opponent, he's got 2 Blood Knights over here for his anti-large. Frontline of zombies, a couple groups of Graveguard here, just look like the standard variant. So he's going to be trying to hold me in place with the Stearnsman and the other shielded Graveguard, who do have higher melee defense, and let the Mortis Engine do most of the heavy lifting. He does also have Manfred, Spirit Leech, Fedabuna, Invocation, and Raise Dead, so definitely a very solid competitive kit on Manfred right there. So without further ado, guys, let's get this show on the road. So right now the forces are going to collide. You can see the Cryptors are going to come in, or not Cryptors, these freaking Chaos Spawn. You can see there's just some, oh man, look how gnarly, there's like a face right there. That's some gross stuff. But anyways, they charge in there, do some pretty good shock damage against these zombies. And that's why I really like them. They're just so efficient at cutting through Vampire Count's chaff, which can take forever for Halberds to do. So they're going to be stacking on there. You can see this first group of zombies going down fairly quickly. My opponent is going to be coming around the back with the Dire Pack. And Manfred's also going to be landing over here and helping out. And that's definitely good. My Shaggoths and other big boys are on this side, so very well played by Zardar there, kind of realizing he's safe. And I expect a Fedabuna or some other funny business to be going down shortly. In the back, what I do is I just going to start pounding out the middle, doing as much damage as I can. And with the Blood Knights, I'm just going to be basically screening. So I'm going to be, forming up my Halberds and making sure they can't get in. And Blood Knights are such a cool looking unit. But anyways, I do have my Halberds kind of squaring up here. He does have his Mortis Engine right here. So what I do is I keep my Giant, I keep my Chaos Spawn in the middle, just trying to break through these zombies. And, see they're going down pretty quick. And I just send my other Shaggoth right here to just chase down this Claw of Nagash. You don't want to overcommit and chase, but right here, very, very good charge for my opponent. He does come in with these Blood Knights, realizing that he can't really get into the big targets. He's just going to start cycle charging these Chosen. Thankfully, Chosen have extremely high armor at 120, and Blood Knights do have relatively low AP damage, so we're just going to kind of brace there, and then on top of that, we're going to use the Fedabuna from our Deathcaster to work down these Blood Knights. We're also going to collapse over with our other Halberds and try and fend them off. So the Blood Knights take a lot of damage. Other groups in okay shape, taking some damage from the Chosen, and the Shaggoth is able to stand on top of the Halberds and, is ultimately relatively safe. So Manfred does land over here, and I think he casted a Fedabuna on something, and Kolek is just going to kind of sit here and fend him off. So basically, the main objective here and kind of the recipe for success in my book is just to screen out his Blood Knights with Halberds and make sure that Manfred and, his Mortis Engine can't get comfortable. So if I keep chasing that Mortis Engine with my Shaggoths and whatnot, we should be in pretty good shape. So very, very solid play by Zardar right there. He summoned some zombies in front of my Halberds, who I was using to screen out the Blood Knights. So he's probably going to get a pretty clean and juicy charge right over here. But thankfully, you can see the Chosen or the Chaos Warriors are doing pretty good against the chaff units. And, it won't be the end of the world since they're heavily armored, but still a very, very good charge. So they get in there and they get a nice little sandwich on those Chaos Warriors, pushing them further into the Graveguard and zombies. But in the middle, it's going well. We've had okay success at kind of screening things out, forcing the Mortis Engine to sit on the flanks. And Kolek is just kind of riding over to it, obviously very high mass unit. And here he comes, just taking this Mortis Engine to town. And the Chosen in the middle, pretty much 0 damage. My Chaos Spawn just have taken like no damage. And they're just cutting through these guys incredibly quickly. And I really like this combination of the Chosen with Halberds and then the Chaos Spawn for the regular traditional DPS, which is pretty cool. So my Halberds do get past those zombies, and I'm able to get my Shaggoth over here as well to kind of start screening out these Blood Knights. And you can see the Blood Knights are coming in, trying to get on the Shaggoth, but the Chaos Warriors with Halberds will definitely be able to trade very, very cost efficiently with the expensive Blood Knights. So things are looking okay. Balance of power is relatively even. Looks like it's maybe coming slightly into my favor, but again, still anyone's game. I do use a Spirit Leech on the Claw of Nagash because didn't really have enough for Fate of Buna, so I figured might as well get that off. And looks like the Claw of Nagash is going to be coming in here, so the Chaos Spawn and my Giants will be turning in a moment. You can see Kulek's just coming in, swiggity swooty, he's coming for that booty, and he's going to drop a huge crushing blow right on top of this Mortis Engine, and I mean, I feel like that Necromancer will get crushed by something that powerful. But the Claw of Nagash is going to be running to the far side, just trying to kite with its slowing aura. And it looks like Manfred is going to be summoning some zombies, trying to slow down my units, but obviously the Giant and Kolek both have really good mass and should be able to push through. So my opponent has gotten, Zardar's gotten a pretty good surround with the Blood Knights on my Shaggoth here, but it's kind of hard to tell, but there's still a ton of Halberds here. Their color scheme is somewhat similar to the Blood Knights, so it's a little bit hard to see, but the Halberds should be able to defend these guys off, and the Dragon Ogre, of course, does have anti-large and AP. Looks like Manfred's going to be dropping a Spirit Leech right here on the Shaggoth, definitely doing some good work, but at this point, the forces of the Vampire counts are getting a little worn down. The Skeletons and the Graveguard in the middle are kind of getting punished. Lord of the Storm going down on some of that chaff on the far side, and of course Manfred taking a few blows from Kolek is going to be absolutely game-changing. So he's probably going to try and retreat here on his Hellsteed, which is definitely going to be a good idea. Don't want to stay in sustained combat with the Mountain God. And the Claw of Nagash is still alive, so he's just kind of been riding circles around my army, but the Shaggoths are faster, I think, so actually he's pretty slow right now from that aura. So, yeah, he's at 49 speed compared to the 48, so it's pretty much the same speed here, but I basically just need to keep pressuring it, and as I pressure it to the other side, I then need to grab my other monstrous units and just try and cut it off and do some work. So the Chaos Spawn pushing through here, still about half health, which is good, and of course being unbreakable, but look how well the Chosen and the Chaos Spawn have done against the Sternsmen. Typically, the Sternsmen are one of those units that are always full health at the end of the game, but we've done a pretty good job just kind of pounding through the middle with our Chosen and Chaos Spawn, plus a Giant who provides some much-needed AP against these Graveguard. So right now, the bounce power is coming pretty heavily into my favor. You can see Kolek in the gang. A bit of a last fight here for Manfred and his remaining Blood Knights, and it's probably going to be too little too late, but very well played. Zardar did a really good job with his Claw of Nagash kind of kiting and stuff, but ultimately I think it was Warhammer is very much a game of compositions. When you're playing with two very good players, it comes down to the picks a lot of the time. But Zardar obviously has a YouTube channel as well, so I'll make sure to link to that. And he's traditionally a campaign player. He does a lot of battles with Third Age and things like that. But his micro is very, very good. He's starting to get into multiplayer, and he's definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with. So we're going to jump over to game 2. Let's go ahead and take a look at the breakdown here. You can see the Chosen and the Chaos Spawn performed extremely well, and of course this is, with the exception of, I don't normally use Giants here, but this is a pretty competitive Chaos build against Vampires, I think. It can be counterplayed, but if you had gone double Terrorgeist, I think that would have been much scarier. They could have picked off, used their breath attacks to great effect, and of course, there's theories about both, but I do think the Terrorgeists are the way to go. So very well played to Zardar, and guys, we're going to jump right over to game 2. And now we are back with game 2 in the series, which is going to be a showdown between the Beastmen, led by Malagor the Dark Omen, and the Dark Elves, who are going to be led by Malekith the Witch King. Man, those names sound really familiar. But anyways, this is a build I've used in the past, but I haven't really tried it too much since the nerf of the Cygors. But essentially what you do is you get Centaurs with throwing axes and just kind of kite and skirmish the Dark Elf forces, and then you use your Cygors and other ranged harass units to kind of whittle down the Dark Elf forces. So I have a couple groups of the Centaurs with throwing axes, 2 groups of Centaurs with great weapons and poison hounds, 1 on each side, and very, very narrow in the infantry. So we have 2 groups of Bestigors, Harpies to just harass, some Minos with great weapons just to give us some anti-large against Cauldrons and Malekith and Dragons. Then it's basically just the Angry Pigeon back here, or the Chaos Turkey, or whatever name we've dictated for him, and that's it for my army. And for Zardar's army, so Zardar was mentioning that Dark Elves are one of his best armies, and I definitely really, really liked his army composition. So he has the front line of Spearmen, which will hold against Bestigors and things like that, but what he's going to be using to deal with elite infantry is going to be Malekith, as well as the Death Hag on the altar. So this is something I haven't seen in a long time, but anti-infantry poison causes fear and terror, so definitely going to be pretty good against the Beastmen once their frenzies wear off. So I like it quite a bit. He does also have a couple of groups of Witch Elves in the back, and 2 groups of the Black Art Corsairs with the handbows. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and it's solid. I feel like the Dreadspears in the front line will be able to deal with Minotaurs and Chaos Spawn if someone went with the Mino Bus build, and also with Silver Shields they can screen out Centaurs. The handbows, 70 range, so a little bit less than, or actually the exact same, so they can give really good counterplay to my Centaurs here. So I was really nervous when I saw this. I was like, oh man, these Corsairs are going to be tough to take down. So without further ado, guys, let's see how this goes. So right here you can see that Malekith is going to be kind of just chilling on his dragon, getting ready to party, and obviously Zardar knows that I have the range advantage. The Cygor is going to be shooting in. I only have 1 because the rules of this tournament dictate you can only bring 1. I think normally 2 would be a little bit better, but I still will be summoning. So right here, knowing these guys weren't braced, I just charge in and get a little bit of free damage. So don't be afraid to charge into spears if they're not braced. So I do get a little bit reckless with the Centaurs trying to poke these handbows here. and they give me some really good counterplay. So it's getting a little bit hog wild. I actually didn't notice these Dark Riders in the forest here, but my Centaurs and Poison Hounds are going to be swarming in and hopefully able to put those guys down pretty quick. And you can see that's going to be a nice little pick. In the meantime, I used the Harpies to attack Malekith, just trying to slow his forces down. Basically, I just want to keep the fight away from, my Cygors and back line here. The Bestigors in the front line have engaged and are going to be able to chop up these Dread Spears pretty good, but they are taking damage from those Corsairs right there. In the meantime, wasting a ton of ammunition on the Dread Spear, so getting a little bit sloppy, but at this point I was like, I'm just going to wear down whatever I can, and ultimately it's done okay. I mean, they're at half health. So the Throwing Axes are going to start pushing towards Malekith, trying to get some damage. Bestigors on the far side are fighting. And we do also catch his Dark Riders on this side. But Zardar does a very good job reacting with Spearmen and is able to get over there and, turn it into a decent trade. Doing some great damage to my Centaurs. So you definitely can't complain. So right there's Chill Wind going down from Malekith. I do have to pull back my Centaurs with Throwing Axes as the Spearmen are just pushing forward. And the Bestigors are fighting, but the Witch Elves, honestly, I was surprised at how well they're performing. And let's see what their debuff does. So it does lower melee defense and speed. So going to make them a little bit more squishy. And, they're kind of working through my Bestigors a little bit. In the back, my two Cygors are in pretty good shape. Bounce Power does come into my favor, but it's completely kind of inflated there. Just trying to get some cycle charging with my great weapons on his hand bows. Just doing my best to kind of work things down. But, I haven't really... I feel like I haven't really gotten into where I want to be. I'm in these skirmishing situations taking damage, whereas I didn't want to be taking damage until the main fighting started. I did pull some of my Minotaurs up a little bit preemptively, and it looks like they're going to get caught by some Dark Riders. So I will be pulling them back right now, trying to retreat to my supporting elements. And this was a mistake I often make with Throwing Axes. I path them in a group, and they get caught with AoE effects like Soul Stealer. So very, very good stuff from Zardar right there. Recognizing the blob, and and then punishing with the Gaze of Malice as well. So that was some really good play. So the Minotaurs do get head off by Malekith, but I wasn't upset about this because it kind of pinned him for a second. It allowed me to do a ton of damage. But still, I was really surprised at how fast those Minotaurs went down to the Spears and Dark Riders. So definitely very good stuff there. On the far side, you can see the Bestigors are fighting against some of these Witch Elves and trading effectively. But the Cauldron of Blood is just kind of riding through them and is obviously going to be very, very punishing to infantry. And just a very wild battle, back and forth battle. So the bounce power very even right here. Poison Hounds have gotten onto the Blackheart Corsairs, but they're not Dark Shards. They have 80 armor, decent defensive and combat stats, and they should be able to fend off these Hounds, to be honest. Over here, the other Centaurs, the Great Weapons, continuing to cycle charge in the back, but the problem is the Dark Elves are still advancing. I haven't been able to hold their advance, and there's not really good targets for my Cygors. I mean, the Handbows are okay. The Spearmen are obviously, pretty much what I have to shoot at. So he's pretty much in my back line right now. So what I do is I grab my Cygor, send it forward, and I'm just going to have him take the beating while my natural Cygor is going to keep throwing boulders and eventually will try and run away. In the meantime, you can see Malagor's just squealing in the background, trying to run for safety. I don't think I had any other spells other than the Cygor summon because it's very, very intensive, and I wanted to, try and maximize the effectiveness of that. So my Throwing Axes are in okay shape. It looks like a Gaze Malice going down right there, getting some really, really good value. And we're doing some good work against the Death Hag. A big mistake, I think, was overextending the Minotaurs. I should have just been super conservative, because had I kept them back here and waited, I then could have just swarmed down this Cauldron for free and probably kill it. But unfortunately, it's going to be pushing back. My Throwing Axes are getting some good damage on it, but still, there's so much HP on the battlefield. Malekith healed very well with that Soul Stealer, and the Cauldron, of course, is just going to be, pushing back here, wasting my ammunition. Well, not wasting, per se. And this is also very inefficient. Having a Cygor have to fight Spearmen and stuff like this is not good. Their bonus versus large and just kind of, sheer numbers is going to be very tough. So I do get another Cygor summon in the back, which is going to pull the bounce power back to the middle. It was a little bit in the favor of Zardar Total War. And you can see my Chaos Poison Warhounds and some other troops are rallying on the flanks, but it's definitely looking pretty... this is an inflation. Once this Cygor kind of disappears, the bounce power is then going to jump back in his favor. And with this build, once your front line is compromised and they get into your cookie jar, if you haven't done enough damage, Malagor's just going to get his salad straight up tossed by Malekith right here. You can see he gets attacked twice. He's almost dead. And the bounce power is starting to come very, very heavily in the favor of the Dark Elves. I'm definitely very impressed with this build, and I liked it quite a bit. I felt like it had answers to my skirmishing. And you can see the Cygors are fighting against melee and spears, and now Malekith can pretty much fly around with impunity. And some of those Witch Elves even catch my my Centaurs here, because he did use a Chill Wind to slow them down initially, and they weren't able to pull out. That's what she said. And just having some hard times here. So this Cygor is getting surrounded. I do have some troops rallying on the far side, but from here you can see the Dark Elves are kind of just, I wouldn't say pintering, but they're just closing in on my kite build. Now in retrospect, I feel like I would have liked to have used Bestigors with Morker and maybe a more traditional aggressive infantry build, because a very heavy core Bestigors would have done much better against the handbows and the spears. And I probably could have had, just a couple of Centaurs with the great weapons to deal with his Cauldron. But very well played to Zardar. That was a really cool build, definitely showing his great micro and, knowledge of the Dark Elves. and it was quite a bit of fun. So you guys are in for a rubber match. Game 3 in this series. Again, very well played to Zardar, and we will jump right over to Game 3. And now we are back with Game 3 in this best of 3 series between myself and Zardar Total War. So in this match, it's going to be a showdown between the Greenskins led by the Baconator and the Tomb Kings, who are going to be led by Setra the Imperishable atop the Chariot of the Gods. So something I haven't seen in quite some time, but should be quite a bit of fun. Now the tail of the tape for my army. In the front line, we do actually have, I think, 3 Black Orcs in total. So 2 Black Orcs right here. We also have some lads, so I like to get one group of Goblins just as like an annoying troll unit, and if they have like Skirmisher Cav or things like that, just kind of gives you some utility to bog down units. So, but aside from that, the Black Orcs obviously a very good choice, and I do think they're probably the best infantry choice for your core in this matchup with 110 armor, Tomb Guards, what are the Kepler Guard? I think, yeah, the Kepler Guard, Nehekar Warriors, Skeleton Spears, all the infantry you usually see a mix and match of, aren't really going to be able to do much against Black Orcs. And if they do end up fighting Constructs, which is pretty much the counter to Black Orcs, they have enough AP and offensive capabilities to really put a dent in things. Black Orcs can solo Ushapti. They can do a very good job. Even one group of Ushapti and one group of Skeleton Warriors, the Black Orcs can often win that in a 2v1 engagement, which is very, very cost effective. And they're immune to psychology, which is pretty cool. Black Orcs, we have a fairly heavy core of Skirmishers. We have some Forest Goblin Spider Riders, Depth Creepers, Mangy Marauders. So basically what you do is you get these guys in a Goon Squad, and if he does like pressure you with Carrion and other troops like that, you use the Forest Goblin Spider Riders to pick them off. The Forest Goblin Spider Riders really dumpster Carrion. They apply poison, so the Carrion can't get away. Can definitely do a very good job. In the secondary line, we're going to be using Savage Orc Airboys, which I like quite a bit here, and the reason I bring them over Goblins is, number one, Carrion Harass is pretty strong against Goblins, but these guys just beat the brakes off Carrion, and on top of that, they have pretty good physical resist, so again, another mitigation factor against the Carrion, and if your opponent does summon Ushapti on top of these guys, they can put up a pretty good fight with their 38 weapon strength. And last but not least, my secret weapon against the Tomb Kings are going to be the Trolls. So Trolls have better combat stats than Ushapti, although we don't have any to compare here. But they have higher melee attack, higher melee defense, better weapon strength, and on top of that, they regenerate. The problem being is actually their leadership. But I still think Trolls are a secret weapon. They have enough mass to pin out constructs and just do a ton of work in this matchup. So we have 2 Trolls. We have the Wurzog Goon Squad, so Wurzog with Effigy. So if Setra comes in, or Arcan, or any other lords like that, you can pin them with Effigy and get a really nasty Alpha Strike using Ere We Go or Fist of Cork. And that's pretty much it for the army. We do have the Rustiers, of course, so pretty much a must-bring, and more Forest Goblin Spider Riders on the far side. So for Zardar's army, 2 groups of Carrion, front line of Skeleton Warriors, pretty standard stuff. So you use Skeletons just as chaff, and then you basically just have the what are these things called? Tomb Scorpions, just do the heavy lifting, the damage, the terror routing. That's why you bring Black Orcs. They're immune to psychology. He does also have Setra on the Chariot, which can be very mean against Greenskin infantry blobs. So if I had gone with like Savage Orcs and stuff like that, this would be very punishing. And it still will do very well because it has like high armor piercing values. So against Black Orcs, Setra can be pretty good as well. In the back line, he's got some Skeleton Archers who are going to be supporting an Ushapti Great Bow, a Tomb or a Necrotect on a Chariot, Tomb Prince on a horse, giving him some really good anti-large options against big bosses and trolls and things like that. Some spears in the back, and that's pretty much it. So without further ado, guys, let's get this show on the road. So right here in the front, you can see the Black Orcs are going to be coming in, and Setra is just going balls deep and just charging through these Black Orcs. Look at that damage. That's pretty solid, but thankfully Wurzog is ready with Effigy of the Git, so you can see the Trolls are going to go to town, and the Spiders are charging in, and oh, look how angry Wurzog looks. Just coming in there with really good AP himself. And the Effigy is going to, obviously pin down Setra. We're probably going to get quite a bit of damage, so I do also use a buff here. I think it was Ere We Go. I can't remember. But, despite the fact that Setra does have the Guardian nearby, or I think he tried to pull it back, so the Guardian actually abandoned Setra. But, we do get that buff there and do a ton of damage, but the Tomb Scorpion's going to come blitzing through, and just, wild times for all. On the far side, the Carrion did try and pick off my Skirmishers, but like I said, I used the Forest Goblin Spider Riders to kind of pick them off, and some of the lads were able to rush off here and kind of, pin the Carrion down, and you can see they're at 76 speed, and, they're kind of mucked up here by the high mass of the Forest Goblin Spider Riders. They're definitely not going to be able to get away. So a good trade so far. Black Orcs in the front line definitely doing their job, cutting through the chaff. Soon they'll be able to push through, and these guys are already at 70 kills. But very well played by Zardar, getting his Skeletons and his his Ushapti and focusing down my Trolls. But I do also have my Savage Orc Airboys who are pouring heavy fire into these Ushapti Great Bows. And like I said, they have 6 AP compared to like the 2 or 3 of the Goblins, so they're going to generate good value and will be able to defend themselves. So Zardar, it looks like he posted most of his heavy resources in the front line, the Tomb Scorpion and some of these Skeletons, but I do have the heavy AP of the Black Orcs and the Trolls who are going to be able to work down this Tomb Scorpion here, over the course of a long battle. They also do get a very nice pin on that Necrotect. So in the back, just being very aggressive, just hunting down Setra with Wurzog and my Goblin Big Bosses, applying poison, and damage buffs. And basically, I pulled in these Forest Goblin Spider Riders, and what I did is I charged the Skeleton Spears because I knew Cetra was running for cover, and that was able to allow me to get a couple more attacks, which is going to be absolutely game-changing. So Balance of Power for the first time here. It looks like it is indeed coming in my favor. You can see some pretty decent engagements for Zardar on the front. He does use the Usex Incantation of Desiccation, lowering the combat stats of these Black Orcs, hence making this Tomb Scorpion much more effective. But the frontline engagement's going pretty well for me. The Black Orcs are still holding. In the middle, I do get run over a little bit, but on the far side, it's an absolute orc pounding. The Black Orcs have pushed through a full group of skeletons. Now they're eradicating these skeletons, allowing the Forest Goblin Spider Riders, and the Goblins, just kind of yelling, getting ready to help the boys out, just pushing around the flank here. Going to get on some of these Skeleton Warriors, and will definitely be very effective for me. So Cetra was able to kind of stabilize, getting the Tomb Prince with the Guardian nearby, using the Anti-Large to defend me off. And one of my Goblin Big Bosses did get surrounded by spears, so he's able to stabilize a little bit here. But, not Warzog, but Cetra is very low, only 1,000 HP, so if I can get a good turnaround right there, I do get the Goblin Big Boss turning around, getting ready to pursue Cetra, but I think I took a bit of a bad angle. You could see I'm like, all right, let's abandon ship here. But the Troll's doing a very good job, and like I said, the Summon Shopti are just getting pounded on by these Trolls. Their regeneration and the high stats, definitely a pretty cool sight to see. I remember when Trolls were like a meme, but I feel like they're actually pretty competitive in this matchup. This Troll, just tired of fighting, just decides to throw up, and you can see those Shopti just getting put down. In the meantime, some of my other Trolls are shaken, but they're coming back. We're going to be charging into these Ushopti Great Bows, and oh man, it's so cool just looking them run in there and just take these guys to task. And such a cool sight. And also my Skirmisher Cav are going to be coming in to try and seal the deal. And it looks like the Tomb Kings are looking a little bit light. Tomb Scorpion pushing in, obviously going to, apply some pressure here, but I have all the tools I need to really work it down. And my second FG of the Git does come down, and now it's time. It's Gotham's Reckoning. The Trolls are charging. You can see Wurzog's coming in for the bacon. Tomb Scorpion is knocking back some of those Trolls. Definitely a cool cinematic here. But Cetra is probably not going to be long for this Earth with the Trolls, as well as Wurzog coming in here. And yeah, negative 16 leadership, 100 HP. And down goes Cetra the Imperishable, or Cetra the Perishable, or whatever you guys want to call it. Man, 48 HP. He's really hanging on. And yeah, there goes his chariot. So at this point, it's pretty much going to be a cleanup. You can see the Black Orcs and some of the other troops just working through the Tomb Scorpions. But yeah, very well played to Zardar. That was a great battle. I think some of the picks against Cetra were very crucial with FG of the Get. But when you bring Cetra on a chariot, you're going to have to take a little risk like that and get in there, or else you're not really going to net your value. But personally, I think that Cetra on a horse is a little bit more effective. The anti-large bonus, and it's not going to necessarily bait you into coming into traps like that. And the anti-large against Trolls, against Big Bosses, and against Greenskin Lords and Azag and things like that, I think is going to be a little bit better. But Savage Orc Airboys did great AP with the support of the Rusty Errors. On top of that, Black Orcs, like I said, just MVPs. And the Trolls, of course, helped me clean up the Ushopti. Zardar's army, I liked it. It was honestly pretty good. Personally, I'm a fan of Khemrian War Sphinxes, and maybe just cut the Skeleton Archers, get like, cut some of these Skeleton Spears, and your army will be a little bit more independent then, and get like a Khemrian War Sphinx. But yeah, very well played to Zardar Total War, and I will be moving on in this tournament to face Janet on occasion in the next round. So I actually think I faced Janet in the Swiss round, so it'll be fun to get rematches with him. But please make sure to go check out Zardar Total War. He's an awesome dude, just getting into multiplayer, learning very quick, has solid micro, and look forward to seeing how he advances in the future. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks again for watching, guys, and we will see you guys next time.